Hello Year 6 and welcome to today's English lesson. Now, this is our last English lesson before we have a break for the holidays, so it is our last lesson looking at Macbeth. Now, today, there's kind of going to be two different things that people might get up to. Hopefully you're aware of this. Sorry that my face is half in the sun. I can't go that way because I just can't see anything. Oh, blind. But it's nice that the sun's out. Also, if I do that, I go in dark, so I'm going half and half. What's I saying? Two things that you might do today. So, if you finished your Lady Macbeth story yesterday, you are going to take option 1, which means that you are going to spend today editing and improving it. That's what I'm going to model in a little bit, okay? If you didn't finish yesterday, then today you're doing option 2, which is finishing. So look back at the mustard cud from the last few days and try and include that as you finish your story, as you get to the point where Lady Macbeth grows iller and iller, and eventually dies. Okay, so option 1, if you did finish yesterday, you'll be editing and improving your work, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute. Option 2, if you didn't finish your work yesterday, then today you need to try and get it finished. Okay, so let's get into my hands doing a bit of editing and improving. Here we go. Okay, so this, like my socks, this is my writing from, I think it was Tuesday, and I've added a little bit more at the bottom, when Macbeth has arrived home. So I'm going to be showing you how I'd edit and improve this. So firstly, I did it in blue pen. You need a different colour pen. I mean, if you've got purple, which you'd use in school, that would be amazing, but I fully appreciate that most of us haven't. I haven't, so I'm going with my green pen. So check 1 is going to come up here, okay? And check 1 is all about checking that it makes sense. So we're going to read through, we're going to check that we've got any missing words, that it's all in the correct tense, that all of our sentences are complete and at or an are used properly, was and were used properly. And then I'm going to check that I think I've started paragraphs in the right places. So to do this, I need to read. Now, I've intentionally made some mistakes in this bit, but we'll check this anyway. The day's sunlight was starting to fade as Lady Macbeth continued to stand by her window. Suddenly, there was a hurried knock at the door, and her husband, Macbeth, strode quickly into the room. We must get ready, for King Duncan will be arriving soon, Macbeth said as he quickly glanced around the well-decorated room. It was clear from his face that he was not at peace. Lady Macbeth moved closely to her husband and spoke in a whisper. Lady Macbeth moved closely to her husband. I don't like that. I think it should say closer to her husband. So, with my other coloured pen, I'm going to underline, and I could write it in the margin. Moved closer to her husband and spoke in a whisper. This is what we wanted for. This is what we have waited for. Make sure that's clear. Waited for. Now is our time to rule. Macbeth tried to look shocked, but these were thoughts he had already had. The Lady Macbeth spoke, the more Macbeth became convinced that it was a good idea. That doesn't make sense. The Lady Macbeth spoke, the more Macbeth... Hang on. So, missed a word out. The more Lady Macbeth spoke, the more Macbeth became convinced that it was a good idea. He had always wanted to be king, and now was his chance. Lady Macbeth, who had become overwhelmed with greed, would do whatever it took to convince Macbeth. Imagine the power you would have, she said as she knelt in front of him. Everyone would kneel down before you. Macbeth tried to not look at her. That doesn't make much sense, Macbeth. So I think I'm going to write that. So what I'm going to do, if I'm going to write that, I put a little star, and then I put a little number 1. And then on my other piece of paper, let me get another piece of paper. Or underneath, if you've got space underneath. You are going to rewrite it. So I'm going to put a little number 1 here. And on this one, I said, Macbeth tried to not look at her. And I'm going to change that to Macbeth tried his best to avoid eye contact. Macbeth tried his best to avoid eye contact. Full stop. Okay, back to the text. But the greed that had filled his wife was starting to overcome him. He takes his wife's hand and starts to nod. What's gone wrong there? He takes his wife's hand and starts to nod. Okay, I've suddenly gone into past tense and it's suddenly gone present tense and it should be past. Also, he takes his wife's hand. This is going to be hard to correct, so I'm going to do it again on a different paper. So he takes his wife's hand and starts to nod. What that should say is, he carefully took his wife's, sorry, can't see it, took his wife's hand and started to nod in agreement. Full stop. And then that's the end of that bit. Now I've only done check 1 so far. That's taken me like 4.5 minutes. And also I've only done this piece of work. You've got like 3 days worth to be looking at, okay? So check 2 is to look for punctuation. Now you might have picked up on some of these as I was going through, but let's go through now. Check punctuation. The day's sunlight, apostrophe S, I'm happy with that because the sunlight belongs to the day, was starting to fade as Lady Macbeth continued to stand by her window. Suddenly, comma, yeah, there was a hurried knock at the door and her husband, dash, Macbeth, dash, I'm happy with that because I'm inputting the information, strode quickly into the room, inverted comma. We must get ready, for King Duncan will be arriving soon, Macbeth said as he quickly glanced around the well-decorated room, hyphen, yeah. It was clear, just make sure that that definitely says clear and not dear. It was clear that from his face that he was not at peace. Lady Macbeth moved closer to her husband and spoke in a whisper. Full stop, make sure that's very clear. This is what we have won. This is what we have waited for. Now is our time to rule. Macbeth tried to look shocked, but these were thoughts he had already had. The more Lady Macbeth spoke, the more Macbeth became convinced that it was a good idea. I think this one's missing something. The more Lady Macbeth spoke, comma, the more Macbeth was convinced that it was a good idea. He had always, miss capital letter, he had always wanted to be king, and now it was his chance. Lady Macbeth, who had become overwhelmed with greed, would do whatever it took. This bit is a relative clause, so Lady Macbeth, comma, who had become overwhelmed with greed, comma, would do whatever it took to convince Macbeth. Imagine the power, miss capital letter, you would have, she said. That's the end of a sentence, isn't it? So comma, that's the end of a speech and inverted commas. She said as she knelt in front of him. Everyone would kneel down before you. Macbeth tried not to look at her, but the greed that had filled his wife was starting to overcome him. And then I'll go back to my other sentence. I think that's check 2 done. And then finally, check 3 is spelling. And the best way to do this is to kind of work your way backwards. So him, come over, starting was, wife, his, filled, had, make sure it's actually very clear, that greed there, but her, at, not tried to, you, before, down, kneel, would, everyone, him, of, in front, knelt, she, as said, she, have, would, you, power, the, imagine, Macbeth, convinced, took, it, whatever, make sure that's clear, do, would, greed, with, overwhelmed, yeah, become, chance, his, was, now, and the to be wanted, always, make sure that's not very clear. Always had he, idea good, it was that convinced. Convinced, I think that's wrong, it should be a C. Convinced. Became Macbeth, more there, spoke Macbeth. Yeah. Now, I'm going to stop there because I'm quite confident that I've made the changes I need to. But I've been working for 8 minutes and I've just done this one. And actually, I did a reasonably good job the first time through. So year 6, if you are doing this editing and improving, you should be working for a good 20, 30 minutes to edit and improve. Obviously, some of us will be doing option 2, which is getting the work done. Right, let's go back to my face for a minute. And that year 6 is today's English lesson. So, at the end of our English for the half term. So work hard. Looking forward to seeing, so I should either be seeing lots of edit and improvements to your previous work. You might need to do a video to go over your all like 3 pages, or I should be seeing the end of your story. Okay, work hard and I look forward to seeing your work. Goodbye, year 6.